Hi, everyone. Henry DeVries with Health Authority TV, and I definitely have a health authority with me today, Dave Mastovich. Dave, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. How about you?
Very fine. Tell us about your firm in brief.
Well, MASSolutions is tongue-in-cheek the world's only no bullshit growth agency. And we focus on just that. We focus on growth through a couple of things. It's revenue growth and sales growth, patient volume growth, but it's also about talent growth. And that's really where our IP is and my background from building healthcare systems, turning healthcare systems around. And we've applied all that to a growth firm.
So, the question we wanted to ask is what can we do to improve healthcare in the United States? What's your take on that?
I think there's a myriad of problems, but the biggest one is that we've got a talent issue across the board where it's very difficult to retain employees. There's a high degree of turnover throughout the industry. There's a recruitment issue. There's a challenge of even getting young people to go into certain fields in healthcare. And so it used to be about patient acquisition, and that's still important. You can't ignore that. But I've found talking to our clients and talking to people in the industry that talent acquisition and retention and growth of that talent, cultivating that through leadership and through culture is equally, if not more important right now than patient acquisition.
We've certainly seen the studies that patient loyalty is driven by employee loyalty. Have you found that to be the case?
Yes, absolutely. So what happens a lot in this industry is, and my book that you know a little bit about is No Bullshit Marketing Around Healthcare. There's a lot of referral-based marketing. So the ultimate customer doesn't make the choice all the time. It's not like when you and I say, I want to go to a certain restaurant or I want to purchase a television or furniture. We're the ultimate consumer. In healthcare, that is not who makes the decision all the time. In fact, much of the time. So physicians refer to other physicians, healthcare hospital system people refer, the case managers refer, area agency on agency can be a referral source. So you have all these referral sources that need to be communicated to drive that patient growth. But on the talent side, that's where I think the opportunity is for all of us that work in this space is to really focus on the talent aspect of healthcare. And it's about culture and it's about being intentional about culture. And that's a lot of what we focus on with our clients.
What are some quick tips you have for improving culture?
Well, the first is taking a look. We call it the healthcare stalled talent cycle, and that happens because your employees are really often overworked. And so when there's scheduling issues and there's turnover, they get overworked. They take on more work. They have less flexibility. And then the provider, this is on the provider side, physical therapists, nurses, physicians, and then they feel that paperwork becomes an albatross and slows things down. They don't get to give the care. So what we talk about is being intentional about culture starts off with real core values, no BS core values. And what I mean by that is people have a lot of pithy mission statements and core values that they don't even really do anything with. And we're saying be intentional about defining the core values, but then define associated core behaviors. Henry, that's the key. If you have five main core values, each one's going to have need three or four associated core behaviors that are anecdotes and analogies that convey what the behavior is that lives that culture. Because if I say to you, our core value of a new company that Dave and Henry start, one core value is we're going to innovate. Well, you define innovation different than I define, different than Devin defines it, and different than Bonita defines it. So we better darn well have some behaviors associated with that core value of innovate to show what it means to us. The same thing has to happen for each healthcare organization. And that has to be communicated again and again to both the current employees and prospective ones so you get the right people aboard.
I really believe that culture starts with core values, and you're a storyteller. You know that human beings are hardwired for stories, that you have to have the stories of like innovation and action to reinforce that, right?
Yeah. So the biggest tip, I guess I didn't answer your question fairly. You said, what's a quick tip? The biggest tip, the first one is about core behaviors, but the second tip is don't think that culture is a HR function. Culture is a leadership role. Culture is about leadership and it's about storytelling. So people that are your best storytellers and the people that understand how to drive growth. And a lot of times that happens to be marketing and communications people on your team. That element has to be part of your culture. And that's what we bring to the table is we say, we're going to help you build that culture intentionally, define the core values and the core behaviors, and then repeat that in a systematic way that we have built and tested over 20 years of doing this. And that's what it's all about. And so that's a quick tip is people often say, well, the recruiting, HR does the recruiting. They should play a big role in recruiting, but you darn well have to have some storytelling about the core values and core behaviors in that recruitment aspect.
Dave, I see we're almost out of time. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we say goodbye?
I would just say that be intentional about culture and storytelling. They're both key functions, key elements of every business. There should be evaluated from an effectiveness standpoint, not efficiency, because they are about effectiveness. They're about the long term. They're about the vision aspect. They're not about a couple of tactics. And it's all about leadership. Growth and leadership are tied together. It's not about departments or functions. It's about leadership.
There we go. Dave, thanks for spending some time with us today. And to the viewers, until next time, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. And we're out.